In the small coastal town of Plymouth, a gentle sea breeze whispered through the quiet research station. William Harrison sat hunched over his computer, his weathered hands trembling slightly as they hovered above the keyboard. At 45, he carried the weight of a lifetime of disappointment, a promising naval career cut short, dreams scattered like shipwreck debris. The station hummed with soft electronic sounds, a constant companion to William's solitary work. Most people thought he was crazy, spending endless hours tracking what seemed like impossible space signals. His daughter Emily, a brilliant young engineer, was the only one who truly believed in him. That morning was different. The coffee in William's mug grew cold, forgotten as an unusual signal began to flicker across his screens. At first he thought it was another false alarm, something he'd experienced countless times before. But this was different. The signal was clean, precise, almost deliberate. Emily burst through the door, her eyes wide with excitement. "Dad, are you seeing this?" she asked, her voice a mix of scientific curiosity and barely contained hope. The signal was coming from a location that shouldn't exist, a point in space where no transmission had ever been detected before. It carried a unique signature, one that William recognized from old classified documents he'd collected over years of research. The USS Horizon, a ship that had vanished decades ago during a top-secret deep space mission, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and broken dreams. William had spent most of his career trying to uncover the truth about this mysterious vessel. His fingers moved quickly now, decades of training and passion taking over. Emily leaned in, her hand resting on her father's shoulder. They worked, together, a perfect team of scientific precision and intuitive understanding. The signal grew stronger. Fragments of data began to resolve, coordinates, partial system logs, glimpses of something extraordinary. It wasn't just a transmission, it was a message, a promise of something incredible. Outside, Plymouth remained unchanged. Fishing boats rocked gently in the harbor. Seagulls circled overhead. The world continued, unaware that everything was about to change. William remembered the day the USS Horizon disappeared. He was a young naval officer then, full of dreams and ambition. The ship had been humanity's most advanced deep space exploration vessel, crewed by the best and brightest. And then, suddenly nothing. No trace, no explanation. Now, decades later, something was returning. Emily's fingers flew across the keyboard, running complex decryption algorithms. "The signal's encrypted," she muttered, "but it's like nothing I've ever seen before." William watched his daughter work, seeing in her the same passion that had driven him all these years. She hadn't just inherited his curiosity. She had transformed it, made it something more precise, more hopeful. The first clear message began to take shape. Coordinates, a timestamp, and something else. A message that seemed to defy everything they understood about space, time, and human possibility. "We're coming home," the message read simply. Outside, the first rays of morning sunlight began to break through the coastal fog. Plymouth slowly awakened, fishermen preparing their boats, shopkeepers opening their stores, children walking to school. No one knew that everything was about to change. William looked at his daughter, tears mixing with an impossible hope in his eyes. "They're coming back," he whispered. Emily squeezed his hand. "We'll be ready," she said. The signal continued, a beacon of mystery and potential, promising a story that would reshape everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. Something was returning. Something that had been lost for decades. Something that carried secrets beyond imagination. The USS Horizon was coming home. The research station buzzed with nervous energy as news of the signal spread. Richard Thompson, a veteran space analyst with silver-streaked hair and piercing blue eyes, arrived within hours. His reputation preceded him, a man who had solved some of the most complex space mysteries in recent decades. William and Emily worked tirelessly, their computer screens filled with cascading lines of code and strange mathematical patterns. The USS Horizon's signal was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It wasn't just a simple transmission. It was a complex web of information that seemed to challenge the very laws of physics. Outside, government vehicles began to arrive. Black SUVs with tinted windows rolled into the small parking lot of the research station. Officials moved with purpose, their suits crisp and their expressions serious. But William and Emily barely noticed. They were lost in the mystery. "Look at these quantum signatures," Emily muttered, pointing to a series of incomprehensible graphs. "They don't make sense. These patterns, they're impossible." Richard leaned closer, his experienced eyes scanning the data. "Not impossible," he corrected gently. "Just beyond our current understanding." The signal continued to pulse, a rhythmic heartbeat of information that seemed to carry both a warning and a promise. Fragments of ship logs began to emerge, glimpses of a journey that defied everything humanity knew about space travel. As the day progressed, more details became clear. The USS Horizon wasn't just returning, it was approaching Earth with technologies that seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. Calculations showed the ship was moving at speeds that should have been impossible, using propulsion methods that didn't exist in any current scientific framework. Military communications started to light up. Classified channels buzzed with speculation and concern. This wasn't just a scientific discovery, it was a potential global event that could change everything. Emily found a series of encrypted messages buried deep within the signal. Her fingers worked quickly, breaking through layers of complex protection that would have stopped any other researcher. Each layer revealed more questions than answers. "Dad," she called out, her voice trembling with excitement. "I think I've found something." William rushed over. The screen showed a partial message, coordinates, a date, and something that looked like a warning. But warning about what? The message was frustratingly incomplete. Richard Thompson watched quietly, his years of experience telling him that something extraordinary was unfolding. This wasn't just about a lost ship returning. This was about something much bigger. As evening fell, the research station became a hub of intense activity. Scientists from around the world began to connect remotely. Video conferences filled with the world's top minds tried to make sense of the impossible data streaming in. The USS Horizon was getting closer. Military radar systems tracked its approach. The ship appeared to be moving through space in a way that defied all known laws of physics. It wasn't just traveling. It was almost dancing between points of space, covering impossible distances in moments. William looked at the photos of the original crew, men and women who had disappeared decades ago. They would be elderly now if they were even alive. But something told him they weren't. Something told him they were exactly the same as the day they disappeared. "We're missing something," Richard said suddenly, breaking the intense silence. "This isn't just a return, this is a message." Emily nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. The signal wasn't just information, it was an invitation, a challenge, a promise of something that would change everything humanity understood about its place in the universe. As night fell over Plymouth, the research station remained alive with light and activity. The USS Horizon continued its impossible journey, drawing closer with each passing moment. Something was coming, something that would rewrite everything, and they were going to be ready. The first images of the USS Horizon's crew shocked everyone. Thomas Green, the ship's original captain, looked exactly the same as he did in photographs from 1976. Not just similar, identical. His face showed no signs of aging, no wrinkles, no gray hair. It was as if time had simply stopped for him and his crew. Government scientists gathered in a secure facility, studying every detail of the transmitted images. Medical experts ran digital scans, checking and rechecking the impossible data. These were the same people who had disappeared decades ago, preserved in a moment of time that defied all scientific understanding. Captain Green began transmitting detailed logs. His voice was calm, almost gentle, carrying a weight of knowledge that seemed to come from beyond human experience. "We've been given a gift," he said in one transmission. Humanity isn't ready yet, but we will help them understand. William Harrison watched the transmissions with his daughter Emily, their hands clasped tightly. The crew appeared to be more than just preserved. They seemed transformed. Their eyes held a depth of understanding that went beyond normal human perception. The ship's medical officer, a woman named Margaret Wilson, looked equally unchanged. Her medical logs revealed extraordinary discoveries, biological changes that suggested the crew had been fundamentally altered during their mysterious journey. Our understanding of human potential is limited, one log entry read. What we've learned goes beyond current scientific knowledge. We are not just travelers. We are messengers. Military officials grew nervous. These weren't just returning astronauts. They were something else entirely. Their knowledge, their appearance, their very presence suggested a transformation that challenged everything humanity understood about space, time, and human limitations. Emily worked tirelessly, translating and analyzing the incoming data. Each transmission revealed more questions than answers. The crew spoke of an encounter with something beyond human comprehension, an intelligence that had fundamentally changed their understanding of the universe. Richard Thompson began connecting the dots. The ship's trajectory, the crew's unchanged appearance, the advanced technologies they hinted at, it all pointed to something extraordinary. This wasn't just a return. This was a deliberate mission. Outside the research station, the world began to change. News of the USS Horizon's return spread quickly. Social media exploded with theories and speculation. Some believed it was a massive government cover-up. Others saw it as the most significant scientific discovery in human history. Captain Green's final transmission of the day was the most cryptic. "We carry a message," he said, his voice calm and clear. "But humanity must be ready to receive it." William watched his daughter work, seeing the same passion and curiosity that had driven him throughout his career. Emily was decoding something, more than just a message. She was uncovering a potential key to humanity's future. The crew's logs suggested they had encountered an intelligence far beyond human understanding. Not aliens exactly, something more profound. A collective consciousness that had chosen to communicate through them, to guide humanity towards a new understanding of its place in the universe. As night fell, the USS Horizon continued its approach. The ship itself seemed to be more than just a piece of technology. It was a living testament to possibilities beyond current human imagination. Margaret Wilson's medical logs revealed the most shocking information. The crew hadn't just been preserved. They had been fundamentally changed at a cellular level. Their bodies functioned differently. Their minds worked in ways that suggested an entirely new level of human potential. "We are not what we were," one of her entries read. "We are what humanity could become." The research station hummed with excitement and fear. Richard Thompson looked at the incoming data, understanding that everything was about to change. The USS Horizon wasn't just returning. It was bringing a message that would redefine human existence, and nobody was truly prepared for what was coming. The world changed overnight. News networks broke their usual programming with continuous coverage of the USS Horizon's approach. In every corner of the globe, people stopped and watched, their lives suspended between fear and hope. William Harrison found himself at the center of a global investigation. Governments from every continent demanded information. Scientists competed for access to the smallest details. The research station in Plymouth transformed from a quiet coastal facility to the most important scientific location on the planet. Emily worked alongside international researchers, her fingers flying across multiple computer screens. She was decoding technologies that seemed to challenge everything humanity knew about science. Energy systems that could solve global power challenges, medical technologies that could cure diseases previously thought impossible to treat, environmental solutions that could reverse decades of climate damage. The first official press conference was broadcast worldwide. Captain Thomas Green appeared on screens looking calm and impossibly young. His message was simple but profound. "We bring knowledge," he said, "not as conquerors, but as guides." Military leaders watched nervously. Some saw potential weapons. Others saw potential salvation. The technologies suggested by the USS Horizon could reshape human civilization in ways nobody could fully predict. Richard Thompson worked tirelessly, connecting the technological fragments. Each piece of information suggested a holistic approach to scientific understanding that transcended current human limitations. It wasn't just about advanced technology, it was about a completely different way of thinking about human potential. Global financial markets went crazy. Technology companies scrambled to understand the potential of the incoming scientific breakthroughs. Some saw opportunity, others saw the complete destruction of existing economic structures. The most remarkable revelations came from the ship's medical databases. The crew's biological changes suggested humans could adapt in ways never before imagined. Cellular regeneration, enhanced cognitive abilities, potential solutions to aging and disease. "We are not giving you technology," Captain Green explained in another transmission. "We are showing you a path, a way of understanding that goes beyond your current limitations." Universities around the world began emergency meetings. Scientific conferences were canceled. Every serious researcher wanted to understand the USS Horizon's discoveries. Emily discovered something extraordinary in the ship's environmental databases. Technologies that could clean oceans, restore damaged ecosystems, and potentially reverse centuries of environmental damage. It wasn't just scientific information. It was a roadmap to planetary healing. William watched his daughter work, seeing how she represented humanity's best hope. Young, brilliant, open-minded, she understood that this was more than a scientific discovery. This was a moment of potential transformation. Political leaders began emergency meetings. The technologies suggested by the USS Horizon could solve global challenges, energy crises, medical limitations, environmental destruction. But they could also create unprecedented global tensions. Some governments wanted to control the information. Others wanted to share it freely. The potential for both incredible progress and potential conflict hung in the balance. Richard Thompson understood the bigger picture. This wasn't just about technology. This was about humanity's next evolutionary step, a chance to reimagine what it meant to be human. The USS Horizon continued its approach, carrying technologies that could reshape civilization. Each transmission revealed more about a holistic understanding of science, consciousness, and human potential. "We are not giving you answers," Captain Green had said in his most recent transmission. "We are giving you questions. The real journey begins with understanding." As the world watched and waited, one thing became clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. The USS Horizon was bringing more than just technology. It was bringing a new way of seeing the universe, and humanity stood on the edge of its greatest transformation. The United Nations Assembly Hall fell silent as Captain Thomas Green appeared. On the massive screens, delegates from every nation watched, their faces a mixture of hope, fear, and anticipation. This was humanity's moment of truth. William Harrison sat beside his daughter Emily, representing the research team that first decoded the USS Horizon's signal. The weight of human history seemed to rest on this moment. "We present humanity with a choice," Captain Green began, his voice calm and clear. "Not a technological solution, but a path of collective understanding." The technologies brought by the ship were beyond imagination. Clean energy systems that could end global power struggles, medical advances that could eliminate most human diseases, environmental restoration technologies that could heal the planet's deepest wounds. But the real gift was something more profound. The crew revealed how humanity had been looking at progress all wrong. They showed a vision of development that wasn't about competition but collaboration, not about individual achievement but collective growth. Emily watched the transmission, her eyes filling with tears. The technologies were incredible, but the true message was about human potential, about breaking down the barriers that had divided humanity for centuries. Richard Thompson analyzed every word, every image. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. This was a philosophical revolution. Global communications networks buzzed. Social media exploded with discussions, debates, hopes, and fears. Ordinary people began to understand that something extraordinary was happening. The USS Horizon's final transmission presented a clear challenge. Humanity could continue on its current path, divided, competitive, destructive, or it could choose a new way of existing, a way of understanding that went beyond national borders, economic systems, and historical conflicts. Political leaders squirmed uncomfortably. The technologies threatened existing power structures. Some saw opportunity. Others saw potential loss of control. William reflected on his lifetime of searching. This moment was bigger than personal redemption. It was about human potential, about what humanity could become if it chose cooperation over competition. The crew's message was clear. Technological advancement meant nothing without spiritual and collective growth. They had encountered something in deep space that showed them a different way of existing, a way that saw the universe as a connected, living system. Schools around the world stopped their regular lessons. Teachers played the transmission, encouraging students to discuss its meaning. What did it mean to be human? What was truly possible? Emily found herself at the center of global discussions. Her work in decoding the initial signal had made her a symbol of hope. Young people saw her as a bridge between the old world and the potential new one. The technologies could solve global challenges. But the real gift was a new way of thinking, a perspective that saw humanity as a single, interconnected organism, that understood that true progress wasn't about individual success but collective evolution. Captain Green's final words resonated around the world. "You are not alone," he said. "You have never been alone, but you must choose to understand this." Global leaders began emergency discussions. Some wanted to control the technologies. Others recognized that control was the old way of thinking. The real power was in shared understanding. William watched his daughter, seeing hope personified. Emily represented the best of human potential. Curious, open-minded, compassionate. The USS Horizon hung in orbit, a silent witness to humanity's moment of choice. Not a threat, not a savior, simply a mirror reflecting what humanity could become. As night fell across the planet, billions of people looked up at the sky. Something had changed. The universe felt different. Possibility felt real. Humanity stood at a crossroads. The choice was simple but profound. Unite or divide. Grow or stagnate. Understand or remain limited. The journey was just beginning.